Hello everyone, it's Els here. I hope you're enjoying your quarantine, wherever that may be. I've started to see the potential in this online forum opening up now in a very mainstream way. There's a lot we can do with it, there's a lot we can play with. And you may have noticed how much of a strain there has been on the collective. Now, sometimes astrology is metaphorical and dreamy, but in this case, because we've had a Jupiter, Saturn, Mars, Pluto, all in Capricorn, and Saturn is this energy of control and boundary. It's the furthest point we can see with the naked eye before we need a telescope. And when you have that conjunct with Pluto, which is the depth of the human psyche and the human condition in the deep space, in conjunction with Saturn, that's intense. Then you have Jupiter come along, which is a gas giant. And I don't believe in malefic or benefic planets, if they're good or bad, because in this case Jupiter is not beneficial. Well, I think it is, but it comes along and expands all of this energy. And then Mars, the god of war, comes surging through. And because it's in an earth sign, because it's Capricorn, it means we feel it tangibly. There's no metaphor, la-di-da here. This is really happening. And somehow I feel the stars are just giving us this framework to understand what is happening. And we don't have to be trapped in some kind of feeling of loss, or it's just a slap in the face. It's a total slap in the face, and if you push against the flow, you will suffer. If you go with the flow and you do the Capricorn thing, one thing I'm doing now as an example of that is I've noticed the last few days that, and this isn't, I'm not sick or anything, but just the flavour of things is just not as good as normal, as other times. And it's because the Capricorn energy is just so strong that it overrides anything else. It's just not important. So today I'm fasting, and I've cleaned myself, and I'm working with the energy instead of going against it and just trying to add as many spices or get some flavour going. No, it's not about that now. Maybe it will be a bit more like that when Taurus Sun comes around, but again, this Saturn, and also it's square with Uranus, so Uranus is, the forward moving motion of the current epoch that we are in. So it's the age of Aquarius. It's transformation of the collective, of how we communicate, of how we interact, of technology, and that's square to all of this Capricorn. So this is tying up ends. Maybe it takes some kind of catalyst like this to get us all working from home and proving to our bosses that we are as effective if we work in this way, and therefore not polluting the environment by travelling so much, not needing to escape on holidays all at the same time, creating huge pollution. And likewise with all of the factories closing, people queuing up to get into parks, people queuing up to go to the forest, to nature. I'm seeing fat people running, I'm seeing families out jogging together, I'm seeing just this urge towards health that has been so easy to avoid. And yes, there are people doing terrible things and people fighting in supermarkets, and there are people just vegetating, trying to distract themselves with Netflix and relaxing and just ignoring it. But you know, the core means that we cannot return to where we were. There is a before and an after to this coronavirus. And like with I don't believe in beneficial or detrimental planets, I don't really believe that coronavirus can be seen as bad or good. It is what it is. It is a reflection of us. And it is an opportunity. And if you think anything else, then you're just surrendering to pain, to suffering. You know, it's here. We can't deny it. We can just work with it. And one of these moments to go in the house, or go into yourself as well, because you can't control the outside world. You cannot control the external manifestations. You can control the seed within you. You can control what you choose to engage with within yourself, what you choose to ignore, what you choose to run from. And I want to offer out services via Zoom for astrology. I think that astrology and astrologers are going to change a lot, because it's not a case, and I don't think it's ever really worked, where someone can go to someone, give me my chart, tell me about myself, give me the answers, give me a paint by numbers plan. It's something much more interactive, and I've had some interesting experiences that have been feeding into my career as an English teacher, feeding back into my career as an astrologer, and learning how to teach, but not to teach information, but to teach skills. So I would love to work with people one-to-one to help them understand themselves. We go into the chart, and it's much more of an experience that takes time. Because also I'm looking at how to price a reading for a long session, and it's impossible. It's much more like a service that you can go to, like you'd go to a personal trainer or you'd go to a yoga instructor. Well, this is an astrological assistant, really. It's a guide. And I love the thing of a teacher is not a sage on the stage, it's a guide on the side. And I really want to be that person to assist you with your chart, with understanding how it's manifesting, yes, day to day in a personal sense, but also that's why YouTube is very good, because there are things that affect us all. All of the outer planets have much slower orbits, so they affect us for longer periods of time. But they interact with our personal planets, with our ascendant, with our sun, with the specific degrees in completely unique ways. So oddly enough for me, because I have a stellium in Capricorn at birth, this Capricorn energy for me is suddenly, and the seriousness of it all is feels like home. And I've noticed a lot of people saying that who are already on the YouTube community and using Zoom, and they say, wow, like the whole world has joined me, because this is normal for me, you know, saying self-isolate and go indoors and go inside and be physically alone. Well, that's something that feels very natural. And in England we have, you can go out once a day for an exercise. It's like, well, this is just fantastic. And how much more productive will we be when we're not stressed, when we're not miserable, when we can enjoy the house that we've worked so hard for, when we don't have to travel and waste time traveling and waste energy and then have to think about grabbing something to eat whilst working. Here we have time. Everything can slow down all of these other industries, many industries are going to die off and were already dying off. If you look at all of the big department stores that were closing, to have a shop is not economically viable because it has so many overheads. It's very, very expensive. An online shop is the logical way. And it was already becoming like that, and then the coronavirus has given us the push to show us that by necessity, that we can do it. And it's necessity that breeds this the real change, sadly. But I'm seeing doctors and nurses in hospitals in Spain arming together and singing mantras. Suddenly mental health, not being stressed, is a #1 priority. It's one of the main contributing factors. If you have a poor immune system and you're stressed, that's the disaster zone. And it's very interesting that the only way we can help anything in this situation is by self-caring. So that whole belief that to look after yourself and to put yourself first is selfish, well, that's being blown out of the water. That is being disproven, because actually, if you really do care for yourself in all the ways, then you're not going to be contributing. And there's the deacon or the bishop or the head of St. Paul's Cathedral was so tragically, he felt he was letting his people down by having to close it. But this is it. Like, he's a man who's there to serve the people, and now he has to face himself and go inside because he can't have that identity anymore. He can't have that title. It's very disempowering, this feeling that people are having, but it's actually incredibly empowering, because what it's doing is peeling off the labels of things. It's saying, no, you are not this anymore. You are not this label. You are not your title. You are not your job. You are not your relationship in a social sense. All of that is just crumbling. And then if you're a key worker, well, then you're going to get that label stuck on you. So it doesn't matter what you want to do. You have no free will. You are a nurse. You will be working. So it's forcing us to see who really controls our life. What is really controlling our life? And that's why I love astrology, because it is a map. It's a map that can help guide you. It can help show you if you're on your own path, even if it's painful. It's like, yeah, that is the painful spot. Right, that makes sense to me. And it's a cycle that we go through, and it changes. The only consistent thing is change. So if I'm here now in all this Capricorn energy, wishing it was Leo and I could just party and, like, people who are now out, or in, drinking away, like, they're going to feel it. They're going to feel that this is not beneficial in the long term. In the short term, it's not conducive. It's just escapism. Whereas there is a place for that another time of year and another more jovial type of energy. But right now it's serious, and that's life. Like, there are times when that happens, and the pain comes if you try and fight it. But I'm feeling there is this, there's always a light, but there's this Taurus sun coming up. Maybe by then the food will taste a bit better. But while it doesn't, I'm fine. And likewise, I've never experienced my partner's birthday with him. We've always been in different countries. This year was the first one, and I had all these plans, all these arrangements, and that's shot to hell. Fine, of course, because his little Aries sun is nothing in comparison to what is happening for the collective, for everyone in this together. Everything is screeching to a halt. Face this. Face the economic situation, face the environmental situation, face the flaws, face the pressure. What happens when everything just snaps? What do you do then? Then humans come into their own. And then many people, I'm feeling, are actually going to start coming out as being ingenious. You know, people who before maybe resting on their laurels, maybe didn't really feel they had any place. When Armageddon season comes in, they've suddenly got all these inner resources they didn't realise before. Their addiction maybe can't be met. They can't get access. I've heard that the price of cocaine has shot up. People cannot get their drugs. People cannot. This is going to trigger a lot. But it's going to bring out the truth, because the truth is the most healing thing. It is the most healing thing. And when it comes to, all the people getting coronavirus, you know, like coronavirus kills, da 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 da. But it kills people with pre-existing health conditions. And I would say that their quality of life has potentially not been amazing leading up to that point. They've been in a state of quite slow suicide a lot of the time if it's a pre-existing health condition, because of a lack of self-love, a lack of self-care. And it sounds potentially aggressive to say that, but that's absurd, because at the same time we are put down if we spend too much time caring for ourselves, or that we're preaching if we try to share that with others, and yet if we don't look after ourselves, and then we drop to the bottom of the pile, and we become completely susceptible to something so toxic as this virus, then there's no, I don't understand. We're praised for it. I have pre-existing health conditions because I didn't look after myself, because I care more about people pleasing or having my career, or this material thing or that material. Well, no, this material thing, this material thing, mind is matter. This is important. That's what we're being told now. That's the lesson from all of this. And it is a step into non-duality. And it is a step into it's completely transpersonal, as all of this Capricorn energy is. It's about us. And I don't go around eating meat from bats or something, but someone did it in China, and now here we are. There is, and that's not in an angry, bitter way. And I understand everybody's coming from a different angle, a different perspective, and there are many things that I do, that probably more things that I do in my Western day-to-day life that affect people in China. So, like any illusion that we had that we're separate entities, coronavirus does not see that. It goes through economic status, race, religion, age, everything. And it disseminates all of these things that we had that were keeping us grounded to, okay, I know where I am in the world. No. But that can only be embraced. That cannot be fought against. And it's a bit of a incredible shake-up, and can be very scary. But the fears were there all along. You were already scared. And this has just shone a torch on that particular fear. And it's triggering. I just hope that you can find some peace in if you've been on Google Earth, or when you zoom out and you see the bigger picture, you see all of the land, you see that the smallest river becomes this almost blood vessels. And that's what we can do now. We have that power to zoom out and see with clarity what is happening on a much larger scale. Because anything nitpicky, small, like, you're not going to overcome a microscopic entity that's attacking our species with small-mindedness. We can only accomplish it if we see the whole picture, the totality, as always, the totality. That's what will bring us healing. So, please contact me if you think that we would be a good match for developing a relationship through astrology. And I think this is a new way of working. I've seen some applications for different astro apps where you have you can do live chats and things. So, because the problem is an astrologer has to charge a certain amount of money because it is so deep. But if that money is spread over a longer period of time, you get more time to digest it, more time to communicate on specific issues, and to watch things unfold. Because actually at this time, it's fairly a good idea to be quite frugal. That's a Capricorn trait, not to be spending a lot. That's what we're learning. To only do one shop per week, to not splurge so much, And even if you want to splurge, it won't be delivered for another few months because of all of this. So many, many, many lessons to learn, and we just have to stay humble. We just have to continue to be humble to the energy, as always. We don't let it rule our life, we just observe it. The chart isn't something that's smacking you in the face. It will happen whether you're looking at it or not, but when you look at it, at least you have some prior understanding or some comprehension of something which you really don't want to be repeating. Because it's not a circle, it is a spiral, and you do progress once you see what has happened. Then you can actually climb the steps rather than going those paintings you've seen where it's like a trick of the eye and you're going around upstairs, but actually it's a cycle. No, this is something where you can move beyond the pain and suffer less and less and feel better and better, even if the external circumstances are getting worse and worse. It's possible. Yes, so many things going on. But I hope that you're well, and I hope that wherever you're at in your mind, in your physical location, in your health, just to accept. I hope you can find peace wherever you are and accept where you are.